Coronavirus and the campaigns. President Donald Trump and Democratic rival Joe Biden rally in battleground states, accusing each other of lying about COVID-19. Holy Land restrictions. Israel goes back into lockdown just as the Jewish New Year begins. Aiding Lebanon. How a Catholic aid group is helping people still struggling more than a month after the deadly blast in Beirut. And faith and politics. We meet a congressman who learned the values of freedom from his mother, who was imprisoned in Cuba. On EWTN News Nightly for Friday, September 18th, 2020. Good evening and thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Tracy Sable. Tonight, the fight for voters in Minnesota. Both President Donald Trump and Democratic nominee Joe Biden are making stops in the Gopher State. And a key campaign issue remains the coronavirus. White House correspondent Owen Jensen reports. Owen?
Tracy, at a news conference this afternoon, President Trump updated Operation Warp Speed. He said currently vaccines are going through the gold standard of clinical trials. 3 are in the final stages, and once one is approved, the military will have it ready to go in 24 hours.
President Donald Trump speaking to reporters in the briefing room, talking coronavirus and what lies ahead.
Today I want to discuss the historic progress we're making to deliver a safe and effective vaccine in record time. And there's never been anything like this ever.
But his opponent, Joe Biden, is more than just skeptical.
I don't trust the president on vaccines. I trust Dr. Fauci. If Fauci says the vaccine is safe, I take the vaccine. That we should listen to the scientists, not to the president.
The president slammed the Democratic presidential nominee on Twitter, writing, Biden failed badly with the swine flu. It was the gang that couldn't shoot straight. He didn't have a clue. We have done an incredible job with a much tougher China virus. The president traveled to Wisconsin last night for a campaign stop, which he now calls a protest.
We don't call them rallies anymore because, you're not allowed to have a political rally for more than 10 people. You're not allowed to go to church. You're not allowed to meet. You're not allowed to talk to anybody. You have to stay in a prison. Your home has become your prison.
President Trump has been a strong pro-life supporter, but Joe Biden was praised last night by the co-chair of Catholics for Biden.
In my lifetime, I don't know that we've ever had a candidate whose entire character and political career and spirit of service is more rooted in this concept of human dignity.
Samantha Power made the comment despite Joe Biden's support for abortion.
Also, Minnesota began early voting today, and a new AP poll shows President Trump supporters, 57% of them, plan voting in person on Election Day, and that same poll shows that 53% of Joe Biden supporters plan voting by mail. Tracy?
Okay, thank you, Owen. White House correspondent Owen Jensen reporting tonight. Well, this week, the Archbishop of San Francisco criticized COVID restrictions on church capacity. He said Americans' right to worship is being denied by governments. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, who represents San Francisco and is a Catholic, responded today.
With all due respect to the Archbishop, we have some areas of agreement and some areas of disagreement. So I don't know if he was speaking as our pastor or as an lobbyist, advocate, but whatever it is, I'm sure that he must have meant if it is scientifically safe rather than jeopardizing people's health if they want to go to church.
Archbishop Salvatore Cordileone says scientific evidence from other jurisdictions shows that safeguards are working. He says Catholics in San Francisco have noticed that indoor malls can be open at 25% capacity, but not churches. The Archbishop will be taking part in a public demonstration this Sunday, calling on the mayor of San Francisco to treat religious believers fairly. The EU Commission says that it has finalized a deal with drug giants Sanofi and GlaxoSmithKline to buy 300 million doses of a potential COVID-19 vaccine. It's the second contract signed by the Commission. The first agreement was with AstraZeneca last month for 400 million doses. Some of the 27 countries in the European Union will be able to donate leftover doses to poorer countries. Israel is heading into a second lockdown, and Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is warning even tighter restrictions may follow.
אנחנו עדים לעלייה מדאיגה נוספת.
The Prime Minister was speaking in a televised interview last night. The Jewish New Year is starting, but businesses are closing and people are confined to their homes. Jerusalem's Western Wall, the holiest site where Jewish people can worship, is complete with markings to allow for social distancing. In Peru, the Congress is voting to impeach President Martin Vizcarra as Peru reports the highest per capita virus fatalities in the world.
Porque el enemigo no se va a rendir. El COVID-19 no se va a rendir.
Last week, a scandal broke over awarding government contracts to the president's friend, singer Richard Cisneros. But the president still holds a strong approval rating. He had tried to reform political parties, but was not successful. Lawmakers in Lebanon have turned their attention to forming a new government. The people are also trying to move forward following the deadly blast last month in Beirut that killed more than 200 people and injured thousands of others. Artists from all over the country took part in an art exhibition in the port city of Tyre. Through the expression of art, the Lebanese show their solidarity to victims and cope with their losses. Joining us now is Aloysius John, Secretary General of Caritas Internationalis, who just came back from a 6-day visit to Beirut. Thank you so much for joining us on the show. Can you update us on the situation in Lebanon?
Good evening. I'm just back from Lebanon, of course, and during the 6 days, I could see how the country has been, how the city of Beirut has been devastated. It was as if there has been a war, and everything was broken. The window panes broken. The houses were completely out of use. There were no glasses, no doors, nothing. So today there is a huge tragedy, and what I could see was a sign of apocalypse there. And it recalled to me what happened during the tsunami, where everything was completely destroyed. And this was what I saw there. And people in despair, trying to see how they could find support and how they could really find something to live decently today. And the survival is a key question for everybody, the 300,000 people who have been affected by this tragedy.
I read that you came back from your visit with a number of questions and requests. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Yes. Today, the people in Beirut are really affected by this major tragedy. Overnight, they have lost everything they had: their houses, their belongings, and today they're living as social people relying on social help and social work. Most of them have also lost their jobs because the companies which were in this area have closed today, and people have lost their jobs. And today people are living out of social work, social aid. Caritas, it is Caritas which is helping, one of the organizations which is helping them through the church also, helping them to live their life decently. Today, what people need today in this situation is to rebuild their houses. Because winter is coming soon, they have to rebuild their houses. They need to find places to have safety today. And all this is happening in a situation, in a context where there has been a succession of humanitarian crises and also political crisis since last year. We had the political crisis, then we had the social unrest, then the economical crisis, COVID-19, and today, and then again the economic crash in Beirut, in Lebanon, and today the explosion. So there has been a succession of crises, and today people don't know how they're going to survive and what they can do. Today, we hear everywhere people saying there is an emergence of new poor. Nouveau pauvre, as they say, new poor. So people who had the means yesterday have become poor today because they don't have any means to buy anything. Moreover, today, the major crisis which is also in the offing is the government may soon stop the subsidy for bread, for petrol, and for medicine. This means the prices are going to be multiplied by 5, and that means many people will not be able to have access to decent food and also to medicine, or even the means to go to work. So these are some of the difficult situation which the population is living today. And as one person said, today I'm living an uncertain tomorrow. Today is there, I'm being helped. Tomorrow I don't know what will happen to me. So this is what people are thinking today, and this is what their mentality, mindset is today.
Well, thank you so much for coming on and sharing this with us, and also thank you so much for what you do. Aloysius John, Secretary General of Caritas Internationalis. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Coming up, a bishop from the U.S. Virgin Islands makes an announcement about his future. Pope Francis has given his blessing to a new think tank dedicated to protecting the image of the Blessed Virgin Mary. The organization will especially try to ensure Our Lady is not exploited by organized crime. Displays of Marian devotion are popular among some members of the mafia. The Holy Father also has accepted the resignation of the head of the Diocese of St. Thomas in the U.S. Virgin Islands. Bishop Herbert Bevard is stepping down for health reasons. The 74-year-old was recently hospitalized and airlifted to the U.S. mainland for medical treatment. In a letter today, Bishop Bevard says that he has loved serving the people of God and has many fond memories. Archbishop Wilton Gregory of the Archdiocese of Washington will fill the role on an interim basis. Relief efforts are underway on the Gulf Coast in the aftermath of Hurricane Sally. Nearly 400,000 homes and businesses were still without power Thursday night, mostly in Alabama and in Florida. And high water rescues have saved people cut off by floodwaters. Correspondent Mark Irons reports.
Tracy, officials in Escambia County, Florida say at least 400 rescues have been carried out in high water vehicles and boats. Flooding has damaged property, and at least 2 deaths have been reported in Alabama.
Citizens awoke to extensive damage and destructive property, and loss of power and infrastructure, and sadly, even the loss of life.
Speaking there, the governor of Alabama, and just to the east in the Florida Panhandle, the executive director of Catholic Charities for Northwest Florida describes the situation as worse than expected. He says parts of the area are still recovering from Hurricane Michael in 2018.
What we're best known for is being, the hands and feet of Christ and trying to help people get their lives back to order and be a beacon of hope for them.
Matthew Nee tells me Catholic Charities is planning to serve 5,000 hot meals to individuals who need it tomorrow. He's also reminding people they do not have to be Catholic to receive any sort of assistance from Catholic Charities in the Hurricane Sally recovery. And we're running out of names for these storms. Tropical storm Wildred has formed in the eastern Atlantic using the last of traditional alphabetical names used by the National Hurricane Center. So as another tropical storm is also forming in the Atlantic now, it will be called Alpha, starting the Greek alphabet. Tracy?
Okay, thank you so much, Mark. Correspondent Mark Irons reporting for us tonight. A new video campaign initiated by the Magis Center is exploring the level of order in the universe and the purpose that it implies. The Purposeful Universe, featuring Dr. Dan Keebler, a molecular and cell biologist and the Dean of Applied Science at Franciscan University of Steubenville, takes a look at the evolutionary system and the role of order in its development. Dr. Dan Keebler joins me now on Skype to talk more about this fascinating project. Dr. Keebler, welcome to the show. Thanks so much for coming on. How significant is the concept of order to evolution, and why is it important to look at it or approach it from that perspective?
Yeah, the concept of order is absolutely essential for evolution to work at all. Often people, when they think of evolution, think of chance and randomness. But the reality is that we live in a very rare universe, a universe that's filled with order, and that order is absolutely essential for evolution to work at all. And without it, we would have no evolution.
I know in the video you give several examples, one of them being the kiwi bird, which I thought was really interesting. What's the significance there?
Yeah, so the kiwi bird is there are no mammals that are found in New Zealand, but the kiwi bird is a bird that seems to be converging on sort of the mammal-like characteristics and becoming a mammal. It sort of suggests that there's the mammal is such a good way of making a living given the universe and the way the Earth is set up. that if you reran evolution again, you would get things that take advantage of that niche. You would still get mammals. So it's not like mammals are an accident just by chance, but they are sort of one of the things, one of the best ways of making a living in an Earth that's very unpredictable and has a lot of weather changes. And so it's that underlying order that feeds into what comes out of evolution.
Having studied evolution in depth, what does its order imply?
Yeah, I think the order implies that there is in a sense a direction to evolution, that evolution is just not a random process, and that's misleading to think of it that. I think it begs the question of where does that order come from, and then so you can sort of trace that order back from the biology to the chemistry to the physics, and at a certain point you reach a level of order that science can describe, but it can't explain why we find ourselves in such an ordered universe. And so it does imply that it's consistent with the Catholic understanding of creation, and that there's an order, a purpose, and an order behind this.
Yeah, sorry for the interruption, but quickly, what do you hope people take away from the purposeful universe, and what are some of the other topics you're hoping to explore?
Yeah, we hope that they take away the notion that science is not something that leads you away from the faith, but science is something that can draw you deeper into faith and into your relationship with God. So that's the thing that we hope to instill in people that look at and watch these videos. We want to look at the origin of the universe. Will be another video we'll look at. We'll look at the mind and the brain and what science has to say about that. Those are two other topics that we'll certainly touch on in this series.
Well, really fascinating. Thank you so much for talking with us about it. Dr. Dan Keebler, Science Advisor for the Purposeful Universe. Thank you again.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Up next, a congressman tells us how his mother taught him to put God first. And the head of the diocese in West Virginia tells us about a mass this week delayed since Holy Thursday. Many Chrism Mass celebrations, which usually take place during Holy Week, have had to be rescheduled here in the U.S. due to the COVID-19 pandemic and its restrictions. Earlier this week, Bishop Mark E. Brennan gathered the clergy of the Diocese of Wheeling-Charleston for the consecration of the sacred chrism and the blessing of the oil of the sick and the oil of catechumens to be used in the coming year. Bishop Mark E. Brennan of the Diocese of Wheeling-Charleston joins me now on Skype to talk more about the Chrism Mass and its significance. Your Excellency, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for your time today. This celebration was delayed for many months. What was it like to have to wait for so long, and what type of impact did it have?
Well, it really is disappointing when you can't do things at the normal time. So Holy Week is the time you normally have the Mass or Chrism. Strictly speaking, it's supposed to be Holy Thursday morning, right? However, reality sets in that for most places, that really becomes extremely difficult. The priests can't get there because they're preparing for Holy Thursday Masses that evening, and they're having confessions. So most places do it at other times, usually Monday, for example. When I was in Washington and then in Baltimore, it'd be on a Monday evening usually. But here in Wheeling-Charleston, with the extent of our diocese, the entire state of West Virginia, we have two Chrism Masses. We have one on Monday and one on Tuesday. We couldn't do it during Holy Week because we all know why. The pandemic hit. We're concerned about how to protect our people. But over time, we developed protocols and put them in place so that we can celebrate public Masses again in a safe way. So we decided that a good time to have these Chrism Masses for our diocese would be the 14th and 15th of September, which in fact are a Monday and a Tuesday of this past week. And in addition, they're wonderful feasts, the Feast of the Exaltation of the Cross on the 14th of September and the Feast of the Sorrowful Mother on the 15th. So they were very appropriate. I think Rome sent a message that those might be appropriate times if you had to postpone your Chrism Mass. So we had them. We had a good representation of the parish priests at both of those Masses, one in the Wheeling Diocese, well to the north in the state of West Virginia, and the other one in the state capital, Charleston, which is much farther to the south.
Can you describe for us the importance of this Mass and the gifts that the oils represent for those who receive them?
Yes, in the sacraments, God uses tangible things to convey an intangible grace. And they actually, the use of those tangible things actually causes, with the prayer, the giving of the grace. St. Augustine has a wonderfully concise definition of a sacrament, signum efficax gratiae. 3 words. An efficacious sign of grace. That's what the sacraments are. But they use material things such as the water of baptism, right? The bread and wine of the Eucharist to become the body and blood of Christ. A married couple, the man and the woman, come together. Their bodies are like a sacramental sign, and they essentially give the sacrament to each other as they exchange their vows. And then the oils are used in various ways. So to bless those oils, the oil of the sick, which to use for anointing people with serious illnesses or injuries, or just because they're well up in years and therefore just for that reason closer to death. The oil of the catechumens has strengthened them in their desire to become fully members of the church. And then the oil of chrism used in confirmation in particular, but also the hands of a priest and my ed as a bishop were consecrated with that oil of chrism also. But so it's important we use these oils in sacraments. So it's important that they be blessed for sacred usage. So that's what we do in the Mass of Chrism. That's why it's important.
Well, Your Excellency, thank you so much. I wish we had more time to talk with you, but unfortunately, we're running out of time. We thank you for coming on the show today. Bishop Mark E. Brennan of the Diocese of Wheeling-Charleston, thank you again.
You're very welcome. God bless.
A Republican lawmaker from West Virginia says that he was shaped by his mother's Cuban upbringing and firm Catholic faith. In tonight's Faith and Politics, Congressman Alex Mooney sits down with Capitol Hill correspondent Eric Rosales to share how his faith has formed his political outlook.
Spend a little time with Congressman Alex Mooney and you soon realize the dedication and love he has, not just for West Virginians, but for all Americans. He also knows firsthand the importance of protecting one's faith.
I'm a devout Catholic. I have been all my life. That's very important to me, particularly the killing of the unborn children. I think is an atrocity in this country, and I just felt it was my duty to my faith to do everything I can to defend the unborn babies and other values that all Christians share.
Congressman Alex Mooney is the proud son of an Irish father and Cuban mother. In 1961, his mom, Lala, was imprisoned in Cuba by Fidel Castro's government, along with her father and 2 sisters. He says his mom's Catholic faith kept her strong. Released months later, they came to the U.S., and she wrote about it in her book, Leaving Cuba, One Family's Journey to Freedom.
One of my passions about politics is the faith, but also stopping the communism, which, of course, is antithetical to anybody's faith.
His mother taught him of the dangers of communism.
I've been very passionate about family values, but also how that translates into freedom and republic and democratic elections.
Today, he nourishes his Catholic faith with others on Capitol Hill.
There's a handful of us that get together and also pray and read from various authors in the Catholic tradition, and we do that once a month. And that's something we've been doing for a couple years now, and it's going quite well. I found members of Congress, a lot of new ones, are looking for something like that.
Congressman Mooney says he believes there is a cultural and spiritual war in our nation right now. He says an example is the recent Supreme Court case involving the Little Sisters of the Poor.
I met with the Little Sisters of the Poor who simply want to take care of poor children, and they are being forced to pay for abortion as part of health care by laws that have been passed under previous members of Congress and presidents.
And in the end,
I hope St. Peter says, well done, good and faithful servant.
Amen to that. And one more note, Congressman Mooney's cousin is Francis Suarez, the mayor of Miami, Florida. So politics is definitely in the family's blood. From the Capitol, Eric Rosales, EWTN News Nightly.
Great story. And we thank you for watching tonight. For the entire EWTN News Nightly team, I'm Tracy Sable. Good night and God bless.